chosen by the alien princess, the human-'s departure left the queen speechless. He had flown across hundreds of light years for a routine diplomatic mission, but nothing in his experience could have prepared him for what awaited him on the palace world. The official orders had been clear: assist the alien dignitaries, observe, and leave. That was it. No warnings about alien princesses, royal intrigues, or being chosen for a ceremony that humans had never been part of. The Odyssey descended through the planet's thick atmosphere, and Elia's eyes widened. Below him stretched a landscape that seemed alive. Forests of glowing flora rose like crystalline towers, rivers shimmered in green and blue, and enormous structures floated above the ground as if held by invisible threads. The palace itself hovered high above the capital city, suspended by anti-gravitational fields that hummed softly in the air. Its spires gleamed under the light of three suns, reflecting a brilliance that made Earth's finest architecture look dull in comparison. As the starship landed on the designated platform, a group of Xylarians awaited him. They were tall, almost 4 meters in height, with luminous skin that shifted in color according to mood and emotion. Their eyes, large and golden, held centuries of knowledge and authority. Despite their alien features, there was something in their posture and precision that reminded Elias of human soldiers he had once trained with. "Captain Hart," a female voice said, musical yet commanding. Elias turned sharply to see a Xylarian courtier bowing. "I am Lyria, aide to Princess Selara. The princess requests your presence immediately." Before Elias could respond, a silent hovercraft arrived to escort him to the palace. The ride was unlike anything he had ever experienced. The city stretched endlessly below, with hover vehicles gliding like schools of fish through the air, while the inhabitants moved with a grace that seemed almost rehearsed. Elias kept his hands on the seat, feeling a mixture of awe and unease. When he reached the palace's main chamber, he stepped into a vast hall that defied comprehension. The ceiling was impossibly high, adorned with crystals that refracted light into a kaleidoscope of colors. Along the walls, tapestries displayed scenes of Xylarian history, galactic battles, diplomatic treaties, and explorations of distant worlds. Elias felt small, insignificant even, yet a strange sense of curiosity and wonder surged within him. At the far end of the hall stood Princess Selara. She was tall and regal, her skin a soft silver hue, and her eyes glimmered like molten gold. Unlike the courtiers around her, who moved with rigid precision, she seemed relaxed, almost playful. Her gaze met Elias's, and he felt an unexpected warmth, as though she were looking straight into his mind. "Captain Hart," she said, her voice clear and resonant. "Welcome to Xylara. I hope your journey was comfortable." Elias bowed slightly, uncertain of the etiquette but willing to adapt. "Thank you, Your Highness. It was enlightening. Your world is extraordinary." Selara's lips curved into a small smile. "Flattery will get you nowhere in my court, Captain. But you may find that honesty and courage open many doors." Before Elias could respond, the hall's massive doors opened, and the alien queen herself entered. She was taller than Selara, her presence commanding and stern. Her skin shimmered in shades of deep violet, and her gaze swept across the room with measured authority. Elias instinctively straightened, sensing that he was being silently evaluated. "My daughter tells me she has chosen a human," the queen said, her voice carrying weight and suspicion. "Explain this to me, Selara." Elias' stomach tightened. He had no idea what chosen meant in this context. He had expected diplomatic formalities, maybe a ceremonial dinner, but nothing that implied selection by a royal princess. Selara stepped forward gracefully. "Mother, Captain Hart has qualities that our court values highly: intelligence, bravery, and the ability to adapt under pressure. He will accompany me during the interstellar unity ceremony." The queen's eyes narrowed. "A human, for the unity ceremony. Our traditions have never permitted a non-Xylarian to participate in such an event. "Are you certain of this, Selara?" "I am," Selara replied firmly. "He has proven himself through observation and preliminary trials. He is the only one capable of assisting me in the challenges we will face during the ceremony." Elias swallowed hard. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. Trials, challenges, participation in an alien ceremony that humans had no experience with. He had faced hostile planets, pirates, and space anomalies, but the political and social intricacies of Xylarian nobility were entirely new territory. The queen studied him carefully. "Very well," she said finally. "But know this, human, the court will test you. They will attempt to find weaknesses, and any misstep could bring dishonor to your species." Elias nodded, hiding the unease he felt. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will do my best to honor the trust placed in me." The princess clapped her hands lightly, drawing everyone's attention. "We shall begin the orientation immediately. Captain Hart, you will learn our customs, language nuances, and technological protocols. Consider this a trial of your adaptability." The next hours were a whirlwind. Elias was introduced to advanced Xylarian technology, from hover devices that responded to thought commands to communication interfaces that translated language instantaneously. He struggled at first, fumbling with controls and misinterpreting alien etiquette, but his natural problem-solving skills allowed him to adapt quickly. He noticed subtle cues in Selara's guidance, how she expected initiative, valued observation, and rewarded quick thinking. In the training halls, other nobles observed him with thinly veiled skepticism. Some whispered in the Xylarian tongue, questioning why a human had been chosen over their own kind. Elias caught glimpses of their judgmental glances, but kept his focus on the tasks at hand. He discovered that humans had an advantage the Xylarians didn't always anticipate: instinct. Where Xylarians relied on centuries of calculated experience, he often solved problems through intuition, improvisation, and a willingness to take calculated risks. By the evening, Elias had begun to earn cautious respect. He repaired a malfunctioning hover drone that had stumped the court technicians, using a combination of Earth-based engineering logic and creative thinking. Princess Selara watched, her golden eyes reflecting pride. "You see, Mother," she said quietly to the queen, "he is not merely a human. He has the qualities our civilization needs for the unity ceremony: adaptability, courage, and honor." The queen's expression softened slightly, though she remained reserved. "Perhaps there is merit in this selection, but one must always be wary. Humans are unpredictable." After the long day, Elias was escorted to his quarters, a suite that floated in the palace atrium, with transparent walls offering a panoramic view of the city below. As he lay down to rest, his mind replayed the events of the day. He felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. He had faced dangerous situations in space, but navigating the political and cultural complexities of an alien society was another kind of challenge altogether. That night, he gazed out at the shimmering lights of Xylarian cities, reflecting on the choice that had changed everything. He wondered if his presence here was mere coincidence, or if destiny had guided him to this extraordinary moment. He did not yet know that his actions in the days to come would test not only his skills, but also the perceptions of an entire alien civilization. One human, standing alone in a world of towering brilliance and tradition, could spark change in ways no one had imagined. As sleep overtook him, Elia's heart felt a quiet determination settle within him. He would face the trials ahead with courage and integrity, and in doing so, he would show the Xylarians, and perhaps even the universe, that humanity was more than just another species. They were resilient, resourceful, and capable of greatness beyond expectation. Outside, the palace glowed softly under the light of Zalara's three suns, a beacon of history, culture, and challenges yet to come. And somewhere in that brilliance, a human stood ready to leave his mark. The morning light filtered through the transparent walls of Elia's heart's quarters, casting soft reflections across the polished floors. Outside, the city of Zalaria shimmered like a sea of living jewels, its colors shifting with the movements of its inhabitants. Elias sat upright on the edge of his bed, stretching and preparing for the first full day of training under Princess Selara's guidance. He had slept surprisingly well, considering the events of the previous day, though his mind had raced with thoughts of the palace, the queen, and the unusual honor of being chosen. A steady confidence had begun to grow inside him. Humans were adaptable by nature, and despite the differences in technology, culture, and biology, he was determined to meet the challenge head-on. The doors to his suite opened silently, and Lyria, the princess's aide, entered. "Captain Hart, the princess awaits you in the central training hall. She will begin your orientation on Zalarian protocol and technology. Please follow me." Elias nodded and followed her through the palace corridors, each step accompanied by a low hum as the anti-gravity floors subtly adjusted to support his human weight. The palace itself was breathtaking. Walls and ceilings shimmered with energy fields, displaying moving images of galaxies, diplomatic events, and Zalarian history. The combination of art and technology was unlike anything he had ever seen. The central hall was massive, stretching hundreds of meters in all directions. At its center, Princess Selara stood atop a raised platform, her posture regal yet approachable. Her silver skin gleamed softly under the diffused light, and her golden eyes watched Elias with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. "Captain Hart," she said, her voice carrying easily across the vast space, "today we begin the practical portion of your orientation. You will learn to operate our personal and defensive technology, as well as navigate the social protocols that govern the Zalarian court." Elias swallowed nervously. "Understood, Your Highness. I'll do my best." Selara gestured to a nearby platform, where small, floating devices hovered in precise formations. "Your first task will involve understanding the operation of these drones. They are sensitive, highly intelligent, and integral to our ceremonies. You must learn to command them using thought interface controls." Elias approached the drones cautiously. He had operated complex machinery before, but nothing like this. The devices responded to thought patterns, emotional states, and subtle hand movements. At first he struggled. The drones ignored his commands, moving unpredictably and colliding gently with one another. Selara observed quietly, a faint smile on her lips. "Remember, Captain, these devices respond to confidence and clarity. Hesitation confuses them more than inaccuracy." Taking a deep breath, Elias focused his mind, visualizing the sequence of commands clearly. Slowly, the drones began to respond, aligning in precise formations and performing intricate maneuvers. A murmur of approval rippled through the observing courtiers who had gathered to watch the trial. "Very good," Selara said, her voice warm. "You learn quickly. That is why I chose you." Elias felt a flush of pride. He knew he had not only impressed the princess, but had also begun to earn the respect of the court. Yet he remained aware of the subtle glances and whispers from the nobles. Some regarded him with curiosity, others with thinly veiled skepticism. As the morning passed, Elias was introduced to more aspects of Zalarian technology. He learned to operate a small hoverboard capable of incredible speeds, to interface with the palace's AI system, and to manipulate holographic controls used in diplomatic strategy simulations. Each task tested his adaptability and mental agility, but Elias thrived under pressure. Where the Zalarians approached challenges with centuries of calculated logic, he relied on intuition, creativity, and an ability to improvise when standard protocols failed. By midday, the orientation shifted from technology to court protocol. Elias was instructed on etiquette, diplomacy, and the complex hierarchy of the Zalarian nobility. He learned to bow at precise angles, to address various ranks correctly, and to interpret subtle social cues that could indicate loyalty, dissent, or deception. Despite the complexity, Elias found an unexpected rhythm. He compared it to navigation in uncharted space. Patterns emerged, risks could be assessed, and with careful observation he could anticipate outcomes. It was during one of these lessons that he first encountered Kale, a high-ranking Xylarian noble who had been present since his arrival. Kale was tall and imposing, with deep violet skin and eyes that glowed faintly with authority. He observed Elias silently, his gaze sharp and calculating. "You are the human chosen by the princess," Kale said finally, his voice calm but carrying an edge. "I find it unusual. Perhaps the princess values novelty over wisdom." Elias met his gaze steadily. "I do not seek novelty, sir. I seek to perform my duties to the best of my ability." Kale's lips curved into a faint smile, but it was devoid of warmth. "We shall see if human ambition matches your words." The subtle challenge ignited a quiet determination in Elias. He knew the court would test him, not just in skill but in character. Kale was the first of many hurdles he would face in gaining trust and respect. As the afternoon progressed, a simulated diplomatic exercise was introduced. Elias was paired with Selara to negotiate a theoretical treaty between two alien factions. The exercise required strategic thinking, adaptability, and understanding the nuances of alien communication. The scenario quickly grew complex. The simulated factions presented conflicting demands, and the courtiers observing the exercise began murmuring. Where Xylarians relied on standard negotiation protocols, Elias used reasoning and creative solutions to find common ground. He proposed compromises that honored both factions' traditions while maintaining the integrity of the treaty. Selara's eyes gleamed with approval. "Your approach is unorthodox, Captain, but effective. Humans often see solutions where others see only obstacles." Even Kale's expression betrayed a flicker of respect, though he masked it quickly. The murmuring in the observation gallery shifted from skepticism to cautious intrigue. By evening, Elias was exhausted but exhilarated. He had learned more in one day than he could have imagined, yet he had also made an impression. Selara guided him back to his quarters, walking silently beside him. "You handled yourself well today," she said softly. "The courtiers will watch you closely, but that is expected. Your strength is not just in skill, Elias. It is in your integrity, your willingness to act, and your courage under scrutiny. These qualities will be tested even more in the days to come." Elias nodded, grateful for her guidance. "I will not disappoint you, Princess." She smiled faintly. "I do not expect perfection. I expect honesty, courage, and adaptability. You have already demonstrated them." The next days followed a similar pattern, blending lessons in technology, protocol, and diplomacy with real-time challenges that tested Elias' ingenuity. One morning, a series of mechanical failures occurred throughout the palace. Hover lifts stalled, communication interfaces flickered, and security drones malfunctioned. Courtiers panicked, unsure how to respond. Elias stepped forward, analyzing the problem quickly. Using a combination of human engineering logic and observation of the Xylarian systems, he isolated the malfunction and recalibrated the central control nodes. Within minutes, the palace returned to normal operation. Selara watched, impressed, as murmurs of astonishment rippled through the court. "You are becoming invaluable," she whispered to him later. "Not because you are human, but because you think differently. That is your strength." Despite these successes, Elias remained humble. He understood that respect in the Xylarian court was not granted lightly, and he continued to observe, learn, and adapt. He also began forming small connections with other allies, courtiers who were curious rather than hostile. One, a young diplomat named Lares, quietly offered advice on navigating social nuances, while another, a technology specialist named Vela, shared insights into advanced systems that even Elias found fascinating. Yet the shadow of Kale remained. The noble's challenges grew subtler, testing Elias not through direct confrontation, but through social traps and delicate scenarios where a misstep could damage his credibility. Each time, Elias relied on careful observation, logic, and honesty to navigate the situation, earning incremental victories that slowly shifted the perception of his presence in the court. By the end of the second week, a quiet transformation had occurred. What had started as skepticism and whispers had evolved into cautious acknowledgement. Courtiers still questioned the human's place, but many had begun to recognize that his presence was more than a novelty. He brought perspectives and solutions that were unexpected, practical, and effective. Late one evening, Elias stood on the balcony of his quarters, gazing out at the city below. The lights danced like stars across the landscape, and the hum of the palace filled the air. He felt a quiet satisfaction, not of conquest but of progress. In a world where humans were outsiders, he had begun to earn respect through integrity, courage, and the simple act of thinking differently. Princess Selara joined him, her presence silent but comforting. "You are doing well," she said softly. "The court is watching, the queen is observing, and Kale is plotting. But you have shown them what humans are capable of: adaptable, courageous, and clever." Elias smiled faintly. "I am only doing what I know, thinking, observing, and acting. I suppose that is enough to surprise some people." Selara laughed lightly, the sound like a gentle melody. "More than surprise, Captain. You are inspiring. Do not forget that. Sometimes the smallest actions can leave the greatest impressions, even in a world of giants." Elias nodded, feeling the truth of her words resonate within him. He had come to Zalaria as a visitor, unsure and cautious, but he was becoming something more. Not a conqueror, not a hero in the traditional sense, but a symbol, a human who could navigate an alien world with honor, skill, and courage. The journey was only beginning, and challenges far greater than broken drones or tricky negotiations awaited. But Elia's heart knew one thing clearly. Humans, when guided by integrity and ingenuity, could leave a mark that no alien tradition, no matter how ancient, could ignore. And in the weeks to come, that mark would be tested, challenged, and proven in ways that would echo across the stars. The palace of Zalaria had never been so tense. For weeks, Elia's heart had been proving himself to the court, learning their technology, navigating protocol, and quietly earning respect. Yet nothing could have prepared him for the crisis that erupted one morning, a test far greater than any simulation or exercise. It began with a warning signal that echoed through the palace halls, a sharp, resonant alarm that vibrated in the very floors. Security drones hummed frantically, scanning every corridor and entrance, while the courtiers moved with precise urgency. Princess Selara's golden eyes narrowed and she gestured to Elias. "Captain Hart, come with me," she commanded. Elias followed swiftly, his heart racing. The air felt charged with tension, and even the hum of the palace's anti-gravity system seemed sharper, more urgent. He had faced danger before: pirates, cosmic storms, and hostile planets. But this was different. This was a test within the heart of an alien civilization, where every decision could ripple across centuries of tradition. They arrived at the central control chamber, a circular platform surrounded by transparent consoles that displayed holographic schematics of the palace and the surrounding city. The screens flickered as alerts marked the intrusion of unidentified vessels approaching the palace perimeter. "They're attempting a direct breach," Selara said, her voice steady but firm. "It is not a random attack. Someone seeks to disrupt the interstellar unity ceremony, to embarrass me and discredit the choice of the human companion. We must act quickly." Elias studied the holographic displays. The ships were small but fast, designed to evade detection until the last moment. Their trajectory suggested precise knowledge of the palace's defenses, as if the attackers had insider information. "Do you have any suggestions?" Solara asked, her gaze fixed on him. Elias felt a surge of clarity. Years of space missions had taught him to assess threats calmly and quickly. "We can use the palace's anti-gravity fields to create a defensive perimeter," he said. "We'll need to coordinate the drones, reroute power to critical systems, and set traps for the incoming vessels. Timing will be crucial or they'll slip through." Solara nodded, impressed by his decisiveness. "Do it. I will assist with the drone networks. You coordinate with security." Elias moved swiftly, issuing commands to the hovering security drones. The palace AI responded to his instructions, integrating his strategic adjustments into the system. Within minutes, defensive barriers materialized around key points, energy fields hummed to life, and the drones formed patrol patterns designed to intercept the intruders. Despite the palace's advanced technology, the attackers were relentless. They slipped through minor gaps, exploiting any hesitation or error. Elias realized quickly that standard protocols alone would not suffice. Thinking like a human, he improvised, predicting their maneuvers based on patterns and logic that were unfamiliar to the alien systems. "Captain, they are targeting the central ceremonial platform," Solara shouted. Elias' mind raced. If the attackers reached the platform, the Unity ceremony could be ruined, and the human presence that Solara had championed could be used as evidence of incompetence. He adjusted the drones, positions, and rerouted power to create a temporary energy net in the attacker's path. The vessels collided with the net, their movements disrupted, and the drones seized the opportunity to neutralize them. The court watched in stunned silence as a human, one they had doubted and questioned, coordinated the defense with calm precision. Even Kale, who had observed from the gallery, could not hide a flicker of respect, though he masked it quickly with his usual air of superiority. Within the hour, the attackers were repelled, their vessels disabled and detained. The palace was secure and the immediate danger had passed. Elias exhaled, allowing himself a brief moment of relief. "Remarkable," Solara said, her voice filled with admiration. "You acted decisively and with clarity." Humans often surprise with the ability to adapt in real time. Elias shook his head. "I'm just applying what I know. Observation, quick thinking, and action. The palace systems are brilliant, but they need someone willing to improvise." The queen, who had arrived shortly after the threat began, stood silently for a moment, her deep violet skin shimmering in the chamber's light. She regarded Elias with a gaze that seemed to pierce through centuries of doubt and tradition. "You have done well," she said finally, her tone carrying weight. "Perhaps I underestimated the human capacity for strategy. You have saved this palace and indirectly your princess's honor. That is no small feat." The court murmured, astonished. Elias' actions had not only neutralized the threat, but had also shifted perceptions. The whispers of skepticism were replaced by discussions of admiration, even awe. Yet the crisis was far from over. Intelligence reports indicated that the attackers were part of a larger faction, one seeking to destabilize the Unity ceremony across multiple systems. This meant that future attacks could be more sophisticated, more dangerous, and potentially unavoidable. Over the following days, Elias worked closely with the palace strategists, coordinating defensive measures and contingency plans. He suggested modifications to drone protocols, implemented redundant systems to prevent infiltration, and trained selected courtiers in quick-response tactics. Every suggestion he made drew on human principles of improvisation, flexibility, and rapid decision-making, qualities that the Zalarians, despite their brilliance, sometimes undervalued. Meanwhile, Kale continued to observe, offering subtle tests and challenges that pushed Elias further. In one scenario, Kale staged a diplomatic disagreement designed to simulate a hostile negotiation. Elias navigated it successfully, using patience, observation, and logic to find a resolution that honored Xylarian customs while preserving the integrity of the simulation. By the end of the week, Elias' reputation had grown. He was no longer seen as merely a chosen human or a novelty. He had become a trusted figure, someone capable of thinking beyond tradition and addressing challenges with practical brilliance. The princess, of course, remained his staunch supporter, often reminding the court that his contributions were indispensable. Late one evening, Elias was summoned to the princess's private chambers. Selara greeted him warmly, gesturing to a balcony that overlooked the glowing city below. "You have done more than impress the court," she said softly. "You have changed perceptions. Humans are no longer just outsiders, they are partners, capable of extraordinary contribution." Elias felt a surge of humility. "I am grateful for your trust, Princess. I only do what I can, but it is your guidance and your faith that allow me to act." Selara smiled, her golden eyes reflecting the city lights. "You have something rare, Elias: courage, integrity, adaptability. These qualities, when combined with human ingenuity, create possibilities that no one expected. That is why I chose you." Elias glanced toward the horizon, thinking of Earth, of the countless missions he had undertaken, and of the small human crews who had shown courage and resourcefulness across the galaxy. "I never expected to be tested in this way," he admitted. "But I see now that humans can contribute in ways no one predicted. Perhaps that is our true strength." Selara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Yes, and your presence here proves it, not just to me, but to the entire Xylarian civilization. The Unity ceremony will be a testament not only to tradition, but also to the unexpected strengths of outsiders." The following day brought more challenges, both expected and unforeseen. A minor technical failure disrupted communications between the palace and nearby systems, threatening to delay preparations for the Unity ceremony. Elias, undeterred, applied principles of redundancy and logical troubleshooting, restoring full function far quicker than the palace's own technicians could. Meanwhile, Kale, observing discreetly, devised a final test, a scenario designed to push Elias to his limits. A false alert indicated a breach in the palace's central archives, a place containing records vital to the Unity ceremony. The courtiers panicked, and even seasoned Xylarians hesitated, unsure how to respond. Elias, relying on human instincts honed by years of crisis response, quickly assessed the situation. He traced the alert to its source, a minor sensor malfunction, and implemented a temporary lockout to prevent false intrusions. Then he coordinated with the palace guards to conduct a full security sweep, ensuring no real threat remained. When the false alert was resolved, Selara approached him quietly. "You handled that with precision and calm. Many Xylarians would have frozen under pressure." "Humans sometimes see solutions that tradition blinds others to." Elias smiled faintly. "Perhaps it is simply training and observation, understanding a system, predicting outcomes, and acting decisively." Selara's gaze softened. "It is more than that. You embody qualities we value but rarely recognize in our own. Your courage, integrity, and clarity inspire trust. That is why you are more than a guest here. You are part of our future." By the end of Part 3, the palace had faced multiple crises, each testing not only Elias' technical skills, but also his moral and strategic judgment. The human who had arrived uncertain and cautious was now recognized as indispensable. The queen herself, once skeptical, had begun to see humans in a new light, acknowledging the rare combination of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability that Elias displayed. Elias understood that this was only the beginning. Larger threats, political maneuvers, and social challenges would arise as the Unity ceremony approached. Yet he faced them with confidence, knowing that human qualities, thought, courage, and integrity could shape outcomes in ways even the most advanced alien civilizations might underestimate. He stood on the balcony one evening, gazing at the glowing expanse of Zelaria, reflecting on the trials and successes of the past week. He had proven that humans could navigate the complexities of alien society, not through brute strength or technology alone, but through adaptability, intelligence, and courage. And as the suns of Zelaria dipped below the horizon, Elia's heart realized that the real test was yet to come, a challenge that would determine not only his place in the court, but also the respect and understanding of an entire civilization. One human had already left an indelible mark. The question remained, could he do so again when the stakes were even higher? The day of the interstellar unity ceremony arrived with a brilliance that made the skies of Zalaria shimmer in colors that seemed almost alive. The palace, already magnificent, had been transformed into a stage of splendor, its floating platforms and crystalline towers reflecting the light of three suns. Delegates from countless star systems had gathered, their ships hovering in orderly formations above the city. The air hummed with anticipation, but beneath the beauty lay tension. Whispers of political intrigue, rival factions, and hidden agendas filled the palace corridors. Captain Elia's heart stood in the private chamber assigned to him, reviewing the final protocols with Princess Selara. The previous weeks of training, crises, and court navigation had culminated in this moment. Every strategy, every observation, every action had prepared him for what lay ahead. Yet, he knew that this event would test not just his skills, but his judgment, courage, and integrity in ways he had never faced before. "The delegates are arriving," Selara said, her voice calm but firm. "Your role is not only to assist with security and protocol, but also to demonstrate that humans can be trusted in the highest matters of diplomacy. The eyes of the galaxy are upon us." Elias nodded. "I understand. I will be ready for anything." The ceremony began with a procession of delegates descending onto the floating platforms, each representing their own civilization. The Zalarian queen presided from her elevated throne, her deep violet skin shimmering in the ambient light. Courtiers and nobles watched, their expressions a mixture of pride, expectation, and quiet skepticism. Elia's position was central. He coordinated the drones, monitored security channels, and ensured that the energy fields protecting the platforms were fully operational. Delegates unfamiliar with Zalarian technology looked on with awe as drones moved gracefully, adjusting positions and responding instantly to his commands. Midway through the ceremony, an unexpected event occurred. A fleet of rogue ships, previously undetected, emerged from the outer perimeter. They were sophisticated, maneuvering with precision, and clearly intended to disrupt the ceremony. Panic flickered across the faces of some delegates, and the hum of tension became almost tangible. Elias' mind reacted instantly. Years of space missions, crisis management, and improvisation had prepared him for such moments. He assessed the fleet's trajectory, predicted potential weak points in their approach, and issued precise commands to the palace's drones and energy systems. "Captain Hart, they're approaching the central platforms," Selara shouted. Elias did not hesitate. "Divert energy to the outer shields, synchronize drone intercept patterns, and prepare a controlled countermeasure. Timing will be critical." The drones surged into action, forming barriers and creating calculated pressure zones to slow the intruders' advance. The palace AI integrated Elias' adjustments, and for a moment it seemed as if the fleet might break through. Yet, with human intuition guiding the response, the strategy worked flawlessly. The rogue ships were neutralized without harm to delegates or the palace. The court and the queen watched in stunned silence. Even Kale, whose skepticism had been unwavering, could not hide his astonishment. Elias had anticipated and prevented a disaster that might have embarrassed the princess and endangered countless dignitaries. Solara stepped forward, her eyes shining with admiration. "You have done it, Elias. Once again, your judgment, courage, and skill have protected us all." Elias shook his head slightly, refusing personal praise. "I simply acted on what I saw. The systems are brilliant, but sometimes they need guidance from someone willing to improvise." The queen rose from her throne, her presence commanding the attention of everyone in the hall. "Captain Hart," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber, "you have proven yourself beyond expectation, not merely as a human, but as a mind capable of understanding, adapting, and leading in ways our civilization often overlooks. Your actions today have saved this ceremony, protected our delegates, and shown that courage and intelligence know no species." Murmurs of approval and astonishment swept through the court. The nobles, once doubtful, now regarded Elias with respect and curiosity. The human who had arrived uncertain, an outsider in every sense, had become a symbol of unexpected capability, integrity, and honor. As the ceremony continued, Elias assisted Solara in navigating the remaining protocols, ensuring that every delegate's needs were met and that the event flowed seamlessly. The human touch he brought, calm under pressure, observant, decisive, created a subtle but powerful influence. Delegates remarked on the efficiency and grace of the operation, often without realizing that a human mind had orchestrated much of it. By the end of the day, the Interstellar Unity ceremony concluded without incident, its success celebrated by all present. Music filled the palace, holographic displays illustrated the galaxy's vast civilizations in radiant detail, and the Zalarian queen herself rose to deliver her final address. "This day," the queen said, her voice carrying authority and warmth, "is a testament to unity, courage, and the unexpected strengths found across the galaxy. Among us is a human, Captain Elias Hart, whose wisdom, courage, and adaptability have proven that greatness is not confined by origin. He has shown us the value of seeing beyond tradition, the strength in observation and action, and the potential of cooperation across species." The chamber erupted in applause, and Solara's golden eyes shone with pride. Elias, though honored, felt a quiet humility. He had not sought recognition, yet the acknowledgement of his efforts and the respect of the Zalarian court filled him with a deep sense of fulfillment. In the days that followed, preparations returned to normal, but Elias began to realize that his role in Zalaria was nearing its conclusion. Though the princess valued his presence, and the court had grown accustomed to his contributions, he was ultimately a human among aliens, a visitor in a civilization where he could never truly belong. One evening, Solara found him on the balcony overlooking the city, the glow of the three suns casting long, shifting shadows. "Elias," she said softly, "I have come to understand that some decisions must be made for the good of all, not just for one. You have proven your worth beyond measure, but I know your place is among your own people. Will you remain, or will you return to Earth?" Elias gazed out at the city, the hum of the palace a gentle reminder of all he had experienced. "Princess, I am grateful for everything, your guidance, your trust, and the opportunities I have had. But my path lies with my own people. I have learned much here, and perhaps I have left a small mark on this civilization. That is enough." Solara's eyes glistened with unspoken emotion. "I respect your choice, as do many others. Your courage and integrity will be remembered, Elias, not as a fleeting human visitor, but as someone who changed how we see the universe and our place in it." When the day of departure arrived, the palace gathered to bid farewell. Courtiers, nobles, and even Kale approached, offering nods of respect, gestures of goodwill, and acknowledgments of his contributions. The queen herself came forward, her expression thoughtful and solemn. "You leave us human, but you depart with honor," she said. You have shown that humanity possesses qualities that even the most advanced civilizations may overlook. Your presence will be remembered as a turning point, a reminder that courage, integrity, and intelligence are universal. Elias bowed, the weight of the moment settling over him. "Thank you, Your Majesty. It has been my honor." Selara stepped forward, her hand brushing briefly against his arm, a gesture of respect and gratitude. "Farewell, Captain Hart. You have been chosen by more than me. You have been chosen by your actions, by your mind, and by your heart. You will always have a place here in Zelaria should you ever return." As Elias boarded the Odyssey, the city below shimmering in radiant colors, he reflected on the journey. He had come to an alien world as a visitor, uncertain and cautious. He had faced skepticism, challenges, and crises. And yet, through courage, observation, and human ingenuity, he had earned respect, saved lives, and left a lasting impact. The engines of the Odyssey roared to life, lifting the ship smoothly into the atmosphere. The three suns of Zelaria glinted off the hull, and the palace, floating and magnificent, slowly receded into the distance. Elias felt a quiet pride, not in glory or recognition, but in the simple fact that humans, through thought, courage, and integrity, could meet challenges that even advanced civilizations might underestimate. As the ship soared into the stars, Elias looked back one final time. The planet of Zelaria, its floating cities and radiant towers, seemed smaller now, but its impact on him remained immense. He had been chosen by a princess, tested by an entire court, and acknowledged by a queen. And in every moment, he had shown that humanity, even far from home, could rise to challenges, inspire trust, and leave a mark across the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and Elia's heart, human among aliens, carried with him the knowledge that courage, integrity, and ingenuity were not bound by origin. In a universe vast beyond imagining, one human had made a difference, and in doing so, had forever changed the way an entire civilization viewed humanity. And somewhere in the glow of Zelaria, Princess Selara and the Queen watched the departing human, silent and amazed, knowing that they had witnessed something extraordinary, a reminder that even in the most advanced worlds, the human spirit could shine brighter than any technology or tradition. Elias did not look back again. Ahead lay the stars, new missions, and new challenges. But he knew that his time in Zelaria would remain with him forever, a testament to the power of integrity, courage, and the simple, enduring strength of humanity. Chosen by the alien princess, the human departure left the queen speechless.